Here we have the Wheel of Superheroes, where entries range from instantly recognizable to just plain random. Hi, I'm Eddie Abraham, an artist on the internet and your host of this quaint little sideshow. I've written a list of over 100 superheroes and put them all into this wheel. The wheel contains the names of heroes from Marvel, DC, and other pieces of media that I felt like including. However, it does not contain the names of heroes from The Boys, most characters from Invincible, or other pieces of media that may feature superheroes. The wheel will be spun 5 times, and whichever name it lands on, I must draw in my art style and get my overall thoughts on each entry, as well as go in depth on the designs I went with. If the wheel lands on Power Rangers, then I will draw one Ranger of my choice because there's just so many of them. Who will we get today? Well, let's find out, shall we? Time to spin the wheel. So starting out strong, we have the King of Wakanda himself, Black Panther. T'Challa was first introduced in the MCU, and Captain America's Civil War is the Prince of Wakanda, and after a bombing occurs, he becomes hell-bent on revenge against the Winter Soldier. This guy does not give a fuck about anything except his quest for vengeance, literally just following Bucky around and squares up with anyone who stands in his way. He is shown to have a bulletproof suit made of vibranium, claws that do damage to Cap's shield, and a removable helmet a la Power Rangers. He teams up with Iron Man, who appears to be in favor of the Sokovia Accords that drive the whole movie, but as to whether he joined because of that or out of revenge is kind of up in the air. After he learns Bucky's innocence, he comes face to face with men who actually caused the bombing, and after a moment of clarity, he not only saves Baron Zemo from shooting himself, but also lets him live, showing off just how noble he is. He eventually becomes king of his land and gets a new suit in his own movie, which allow him to give off energy bursts that knock back enemies. But I'm not gonna lie, fellas, I honestly kinda prefer the Civil War suit over the newer one. As you can see, I don't really conform to either design for the sake of letting myself cook and seeing what I can come up with on my own. Some design elements from both suits can kind of be considered to be present, like how the helmet looks similar to how it looked in Civil War, the way the necklace looked in Black Panther's own movie, and the way I have these black stripes in a few parts around the suit. In order to keep it from looking too basic, I added these silver lines all over the suit to give it more detail and kind of make it look more appealing. And I probably won't do this for every superhero, but I added neon highlights because I thought it would really make the image pop, so to speak. Also, fun fact, did anybody know that Black Panther had a cape when he debuted in the comics? I thought of adding that, but then I realized that he probably wouldn't be as tactical with it. Though of course, one thing I prioritized was making a special version of this without the helmet to reveal T'Challa's face, which is another thing I probably won't do for every superhero with a mask like Iron Man, Spider-Man, or Batman. I wanted to make this piece of art look as close as I could to Chadwick Boseman without it looking too uncanny or weird, given that I have very limited experience actually coloring skin tones. Honestly, it's pretty interesting to start this entire series with Black Panther of all characters because it's almost like honoring the king himself in a way. You have no idea how devastated I was to hear about the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman way back when. I wanted to see more of him in future installments, but sadly, cancer is an uphill battle that sometimes even the strongest heroes can't win. Hearing his voice in episodes of Marvel's What If honestly brought a tear to my eye, especially because of how fun it was to explore alternative versions of him, mainly T'Challa as Star-Lord. Seeing Chadwick have that level of heart and vocal performances is something I just can't help but love and appreciate, and if this doesn't show just how long animation takes, I don't know what will. So Chadwick, this one's for you. Hopefully I've made something that honors the legacy you've left behind, but I'll let the audience be the judge of that by the end of the video. Now I know what some of you are thinking, Sailor Moon is more of a magical girl than a superhero. Well, to me, she and the rest of the Sailor Guardians more than fit the criteria. They all have superpowers, they all fight bad guys, they strive for peace in their world, so on to the list they went. If you haven't seen a single episode of Sailor Moon, then allow me to fill you in. Usagi Tsukino is your average 14-year-old middle school student. She's immature, clumsy, and overly emotional, as in she cries. A lot. Honestly, she's the least qualified person to do so much as to save a kitten stuck in a tree. One day, a magic talking cat named Luna appears and gives her a brooch that allows her to transform into the pretty guardian Sailor Moon. She eventually grows stronger and her attacks change over time, and the more she fights evil, the more she matures as a person. Though I haven't finished the classic show proper, so I can't say for sure what comes of her by the end of it. I'm back to square one, so Usagi's character is back to square one. Even though this series is more so focused on giving each superhero my own unique spin on their overall design, Usagi and the rest of the Sailor Guardians will pretty much look the same. I will, however, make their poses a bit more dynamic and actiony, whereas I assume most people will just think I just take the easy road and just draw their transformation poses. But like, where's the fun in that? I'm not here to be a basic bitch, I am here to be different. I know Sailor Moon herself has quite a few forms to choose from, but you can't really go wrong with the classic look. I know I'm probably not alone in thinking this, but it utterly baffles me how Yasuaki can just go around without anybody recognizing her as Sailor Moon or vice versa. Her appearance remains the same but with a few accessories, yet no one can spot the similarities. I don't know, maybe magical girls are just built differently. I definitely look forward to drawing the rest of the Sailor Guardians, and I'm honestly so happy that Sailor Moon made the cut for episode 1. Not a lot of people know this about me, but I'm a pretty big fan of Sailor Moon, and I know saying that now isn't as bad, but let me tell ya. If I was caught looking at anything even remotely related to Sailor Moon when I was young, I probably wouldn't hear the end of it. I was a kid who got made fun of for watching Sam and Cat back in the day. I can't even imagine how kids would have reacted if they saw me watching Sailor Moon. And being a kid who still enjoyed watching cartoons in middle school was bad enough. But regardless, it's pretty fun being able to express myself now as an adult, and maybe drawing Sailor Moon can be on brand for me given that I have kind of an anime art style anyway, so let me know what you guys think in the comments. Some things you might pick up on when looking at the finished product is that I gave Sailor Moon rosier cheeks and I didn't use one-to-one colors on things like her hair or her accessories. Also look forward to seeing a handful of heroes get full background images because it'll definitely be fun for me to experiment further with some of these images. Yes, one of the most iconic and recognizable superheroes of all time, the Dark Knight himself, Batman. We all know the story. Billionaire Bruce Wayne loses both of his parents to an armed gunman in an alleyway in a random act of violence one night. And from then on, he spent his entire life training his body, will, and intelligence to preserve all life in Gotham City as Batman, the world's greatest detective. Everybody knows Batman, everybody loves Batman, and anyone who likes superheroes in general likely grew up with Batman. Not me, though! Yeah, before the release of the new Superman movie, there were those people who thought that Superman was boring for one reason or another. Well, I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum because I always thought that Batman was boring. Really, it all boils down to movie screenwriters not getting Batman or Superman's characters right until more recent entries in their respective IPs. Doesn't help that my first exposure to Batman was Batman vs Superman back in 2016, the movie that alters the fundamentals of who Batman is as a character. As someone who never grew up with Batman, seeing him spend an entire movie killing people, wanting to kill Superman, and then finding out he has a strict no-killing policy severely confused the hell out of me. Thank God I managed to be exposed to more faithful adaptations that made me think that I actually like Superman. It says Superman, what the fuck? Thank God I managed to be exposed to more faithful adaptations that make me think that I actually like Batman. As for the design I went with, I drew inspiration from a few sources. The suit from Batman v Superman, Batman the Brave and the Bold, and for some reason Daredevil's suit from She-Hulk. I didn't want to make his suit just gray and black because that would be a bit too basic for my liking and also a little boring looks-wise. Then I remembered the Brave and the Bold had Batman's cowl be color blue, and since I still wanted him to look dark and gritty, I went with a very dark and desaturated shade of blue, but still saturated enough to stand out. I don't really have any preferences as to what makes a Batman suit look good, but I do have preferences as to what makes a Batman suit look more practical. Like the cowl, for example. You see actors like Michael Keaton have Batman cowls that don't allow them to move their necks, which is a huge problem to me because then Batman has to turn his entire body just to face another direction. This is why I drew inspiration from Daredevil's suit and made the top half of Batman's cowl look more like a helmet and made the neck part look like it's made of a more flexible fabric. I didn't know whether I should make it blue just like the rest of his cowl, but then I figured since I'm making some parts of his suit black anyway, why not just combine the two? As for other iconic Batman designs, like the eyes, I debated on whether I should keep them plain white like in most comics and cartoons, and I thought about making them glow like in a few movies, but then I ended up just making them regular eyes, which is pretty anticlimactic, but I think it looks better. One thing I didn't do for Batman is add his iconic shorts, and this might seem like a nitpick, but most superheroes wear shorts outside of their pants to kinda make them look silly and kinda give off a more calming vibe. But Batman is supposed to strike fear amongst the criminals of Gotham, right? So removing the shorts would make him look more serious and less like non-Joker villains would laugh at him. These last few details aren't entirely necessary, but I wanted to be different, so I added these cross hatches to Batman's suit, which kinda makes it look like it's bulletproof. And on some armor pieces, like on the legs, the gauntlet, and the helmet, you can see I added some scratches to them to make the suit look more like it's scuffed up. I mean, come on, in a city like Gotham, if you're Batman, you can't expect the suit to look as clean as it did before I added those details for more than 5 minutes. Especially if you don't have any superpowers, and your main way to fight crime is your utility belt, fancy vehicles, and your own 2 hands. Also, side note, has anyone ever thought about how cool it would look if Batman had a little bat logo on his cape like how Superman has? I know his whole body kinda forms a bat logo when he glides, but it would still look cool, right? I don't know, maybe I just like it when superheroes have back logos. Overall, pretty happy with the design. If any movie studios out there need a new design for Batman, well, look no further, buddy. I think fans would love a suit like this on the big screen. Just make sure to send me some royalty checks in the mail. Now this is a character I didn't even know existed until very recently, yet for some reason I remember owning a rubber toy of him when I was young. Patrick E.L. O'Brien's powers are derived from an accident where an unknown chemical mixes with his bloodstream through a gunshot wound. And none of you know that because I didn't know that, I had to look that up, so if any of that seems inaccurate, then it probably is. While Mr. Fantastic is set to have a stretch limit of 2,500 feet that he can probably surpass, Plastic Man has the ability to stretch as much as he wants. He's weak to extreme temperatures since his body works a lot like rubber, though that likely doesn't stop him from using his powers however he wants. With Reed Richards being a scientific genius, Patrick is on the more goofier side and often uses his powers just to screw with people. What I don't get is how Plastic Man has never had a big screen debut since it's not impossible to make a character with stretchy powers anymore. Maybe it's his personality, or maybe it's his costume. Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't really like Plastic Man's look, so I'm glad he's in episode 1 as well. I don't know, something about Plastic Man's suit in the comics looks a bit too basic and silly for my liking. And I get that's probably the point, but my god dude, wear some pants. For my design, I want to stray away from the comics while also retaining aspects of the original and kind of improving it in a way. The main goal, of course, was giving him pants so that he doesn't look like a circus freak. Another choice was giving him boots because I don't know about anyone else, but I don't like the look of his feet either, but I made the boots skin tight like Spider-Man's boots. I can never really tell if that's an actual sewn suit or if it's just part of his body since he can morph his body however he wants. I took the latter approach and gave him seam lines to his outfit, and you can tell if you look at his gloves that I ended up removing at the last minute. All of this is a way to reinvent the way Plastic Man looks. If DC's looking to bring a new look to Plastic Man, well look no further buddy, since that's what I'm here for. I'll be expecting my royalty checks in the wait a minute, I made this joke already. Honestly, it would be a miracle if any of the higher ups at DC or Marvel come across this show and see me put my own unique spin to these iconic superhero designs. Here's someone you guys likely didn't expect either. Quick question, does anyone remember Eternals? Marvel themselves only seems to remember it when they want a cool set piece for a battle. While on the surface, Sersi may seem like she's just a love interest for Icarus, she's been chosen as the Prime Eternal after Ajax was killed. She has the power to turn any object she touches into any material. She can turn a rock into gold, or dirt into water, or wood into metal. If she focuses her power, she can even turn living things into said materials. And with said power, she was able to turn a Celestial into adamantium so that Captain America and the Falcon can have a cool action set piece all these years later. Her outfit has a nice green and white look to it with a few hints of gold thrown in, though just like the Sailor Guardians, there's not a whole lot for me to change here, but I can certainly try. I was unsure on how to go about this one honestly, because I wasn't sure on how I can simplify the outfit and give it a unique spin overall. For starters, in the movie, the suit had these weird textures all over that made me question as to whether they were worth including, to which I just said nah. For the main parts of the outfit, I wanted to make it look more like armor, I replaced the gold aspects with silver, and I kinda made the pants and boots look darker. Now I could have drawn Sersi's design from the comics, but if you've ever seen Sersi in the comics, then you'll know that her outfit looks, well, like this. And let's just say it's probably a good thing that this is one movie where they didn't push for comic accurate outfits. Because if they asked Gemma Chan to wear a costume like this, then she would not have been in the damn movie. Also, do you guys ever find it crazy just how expansive the Marvel universe is? You got Norse gods in space, a group of superpowered alien robots sent to Earth to make sure a Celestial is born, a group of astronauts who fight villains that range from a mole man to a guy who devours planets, as well as this doofus. And on Earth, you got a guy with metal claws in his hands, a blind guy who uses echolocation to fight crime in Hell's Kitchen, a group of people who are literally built differently, and then there's Spider-Man. If you ever told me at the age of like 10 that characters like the Eternals exist in the same universe as Spider-Man, I would have called you a crazy person. The X-Men? Sure. The Fantastic Four? Absolutely. But the Eternals? Seems a little far-fetched. Just goes to show that literally anything goes in the world of Marvel. And in case anyone hasn't noticed, I did include each and every single member of the Eternals, and I'm just as nervous because I'll have to draw all 10 of them and make some kind of difference to their overall designs. Hopefully I can pull that off well like I have for everyone I did in this episode. Also, I made some final edits to how the final design looks, but let me know what you guys think. And there you have it, folks. 5 superheroes, all drawn by yours truly. What do you think? You like the designs I went with? Did your favorite superhero make the cut in this episode? If not, then stay tuned until next time. If you like what you've seen here today, then be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more episodes. Until next time, bye!